Welcome to DevOps Chats, the industry-leading podcast for DevOps, digital transformation, cloud native, and cybersecurity. If it's happening on DevOps Chats.
Hey, everyone. This is Alan Schimmel.
And Mitchell Ashley.
And you're listening to DevOps Chats.
Yeah, baby.
Yep. So, Mitchell, this is the second episode for 2024 in this relaunch of DevOps Chat that we're returning to after all these years. I hope the audience, if you haven't heard our previous episode, it is available on your favorite podcast platforms, whether it's Apple, Spotify, or what have you.
By the way, I titled it Origin Story of Security Podcasting.
Yeah, it was sort of an origin story. You're right.
The front end of it.
Yeah, it's a 20-year new thing.
And we're still working to get it right.
Yeah, we're figuring it out. Hopefully this week's better. We hope you'll enjoy.
Sure.
For those who are not familiar, DevOps Chats, talks about anything related to DevOps, and it's kind of the companion podcast to DevOps.com, which of course is a flagship site run by us here at TechStrong. I'm Alan Schimmel, CEO of TechStrong, and Mitchell.
CTO.
Yep, Mitchell, CTO,
and head of research.
Head of research, GM, research principal analyst. So we feel like we have a good handle on the market and the space, and hopefully you get something out of this. For this week's show, we're going to focus on a couple of things. Mitchell and I are in person together. We're actually up in freezing Boston, where it's like 20 degrees.
Balmy
20 degrees.
For me.
Not for me. And we're up here, meeting with a bunch of clients, sponsors, friends in the industry, and doing a little fact finding. And, it's interesting, Mitch, just in a couple of days, you start seeing sort of trends emerge, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And, for me, the biggest trend I think that's most relevant to our audience is we're seeing layoffs and budget cuts, everything we've been hearing.
Reorganizations.
Reorgs. With the start of the new year, people are implementing kind of these new plans. And while the economy in general seems to be strong, all kinds of new jobs being done and unemployment remains low, it's tough times for our friends in the tech space and us. Right?
A lot of people attribute it to interest rates still being high.
Yeah.
Of course, that's hit mostly the startup world.
Well, right. It's hitting the VCs.
Yeah.
And that stuff flows downhill. So it goes from the VCs down to the startups. And so they're cutting. But, an interesting thing, I was talking to a friend of ours, Mitchell, versus a friend of mine.
Okay.
To get all mobster on you. But, and she was recently laid off. Her whole team was laid off.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, how did they lay off the whole marketing team? And the kind of the skinny was, well, the marketing team did a great job and they over delivered leads into the funnel. And now they're going to take some time just like kind of harvesting those leads before they turn the spigots back on for marketing. So they're saving money by laying off the marketing team. And I'll tell you the truth. I don't claim to be Warren Buffett or some management business whiz, but everything I know tells me you can't time stuff like that. You can't wait till you're out of leads to go higher up and train up and start up your marketing team again. That has to be kind of a balanced approach with a steady stream in there. Because otherwise, you get the snake who swallowed the rat kind of syndrome, where once that lump is through the snake, now what? So I think it's a mistake, right?
Well, I've learned this lesson a couple of times, not in marketing, but the first time was early in my career. It was with EDS, and they decided to stop doing recruiting because they had enough people. Mm-hmm. And this goes into their whole education program. And what they stopped it, and about a month and a half, 2 months into it, they said, "Oh, you know what?
Yeah,
we're in trouble," because they realized once they stopped it, to start it up isn't turn it back on.
No, exactly.
It was a year and a half to get it back up to what it was to meet the people requirements. So you think about it. All right. So you're using those leads. By the way, you're using those leads. By the way, the markets keep moving and shifting and what they want and where they're going. So you're losing track of that. Plus, you just don't go out and buy leads, right? Well, I guess you can with we have an option, right?
Well, we could announce that. We have Lead Gen Express, so you could come in and buy leads.
There you go. That wasn't a setup
from our demand stuff, but yeah, you can.
But normally you can't just they're not falling off trees. You got to go cultivate and develop that and get them into the queue. And,
I mean, but even buying leads, let's say, whether you come through us or you go to an agency or whatever. That's a marketing function, right? Marketing has to make sure what they're getting and why, and all of the background on it. It's not as simple as going to your faucet and turning on the water. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, it's like waiting for the hot water, but it takes a long time to come.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something else. We're going to talk about it a little later, and it's what went on at Dell this week. But I think in a lot of these tech layoffs we're seeing, especially in the startup world and venture-backed companies, the marketing teams are taking the brunt of these budget cuts.
Yeah, which is pretty common. Tough times, marketing and HR get hit first.
But, I think an interesting thing here, Mitchell, is it's not just about cutting the budget. Yes, it's about cutting the budget, but it's not just about cutting the budget. I think there's also sort of this underlying kind of feeling of, with AI, we're going to be able to accomplish a lot of these marketing functions without the people.
Automate it with AI.
They're going to automate it with AI, and we need less people to do more with it. And hey, I'm all for AI, and that's making a bet on it. I'm not quite sure if it's there for this particular use case right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, it still is an aid, right? It's an aid to doing those functions. I was talking to someone last night at dinner. I said, the problem is AI doesn't know whether it did a good job or not.
Right.
It writes some stuff. And it might be relevant, it might be accurate, it might not. It might even be what you want. But that's at least how I use it is, help kind of organize some thoughts, get a straw person.
You know what? It could help polish something. It could help you start something.
Yeah.
When you ask it to start and polish, to totally replace the human in the equation, I just don't know if we're there yet.
I definitely not.
And so, I think there's a little bit of wishful thinking there and rose-tinted glasses. If you're cutting back on staff because you think AI at this point is going to replace them.
Yeah.
I think you should be looking at AI to make your staff more productive, not to have less of them.
Right.
But we'll see what happens there. Also on the road trip, Mitchell, though, it was good to see, some old friends. Spoke about upcoming events, KubeCon in Paris, for instance.
RSAC, a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Yep. And again, common themes there, reorg and layoffs and stuff like that. It'll be interesting. We're going to be continuing this road trip. We're going to be going to New York and the Valley, San Francisco, Bay Area, Austin, and we'll see if what we're hearing here kind of is, consistent at least across the U.S.
We did hear some optimism of things seem to be coming back and people are getting budgets and they're starting to spend more. So it wasn't all, but we're in the middle of spending more, kind of journeying through this.
Yeah, I think what it is, Mitchell, it's the old story about economic uncertainty, right? If we're in an up economy, great. And I've got, big fat budget, great. If I've got budget cuts, but I know what my budget is, I'll prioritize based upon what my budget is. But when you're in limbo and you don't know what your budget's going to be, and you don't know what the mandate and goals are, then you kind of paralysis by analysis.
Right.
And you can't move until you know what you're doing. So now we're starting to see whatever plans were being made roll out. And so people can function. They may not have enough money to do everything they want. They may not have enough budget, head count and so forth, but they know what they need to do and what they're funded to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Important.
Well, let's turn our attention to some articles.
Sure.
That are really good that are happening on DevOps.com. One of them I wanted to highlight was this: does using AI assistance lead to lower code quality? There have been a lot of questions about what is,
Sure.
generated code or assistance from AI by Bill Doerrfeld. And what kind of prompted his article is about GitHub's stats that 92% of developers said they use AI tools, and developers complete tasks 55% quicker using Copilot. A little bit self-serving there, but whatever. And he had some quotes from people saying they anticipate that, you're introducing more code. And if you kind of get into this just passive, I'll just let it do what it's doing, and you don't kind of do that same thing, right? That we're just talking about with writing marketing content. Just accept it blindly and move on. Well, for a small code change, that's not a big deal. When you're asking it to write sections of code or doing things like that, you got to make sure it's good stuff.
So again, I think you use AI either to check the code you wrote or to generate code that gets checked by a human. You don't use AI to do both, right? You need that balance.
Yeah,
the checks and balances in there.
Copilot, not autopilot, right?
And that's a good way of putting it. But let's be clear. Copilot's been a tremendous success.
Absolutely.
It's a real help.
Yeah.
I think one way of looking at it is, you look at like the low code, no code market. It's an exploding market. People using a lot. AI is a great tool in that low code, no code kind of vein. AI is a great tool to teach you to code, to help look at your code. But again, 92% of developers said they're using AI tools. They're not letting AI just write the code.
That's not the percentage of work they're doing.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's an important thing. And I think we have to remember that's what AI is. It will get better. It gets better every day. But at this point, I don't think it's autonomous driving. I think it's assisted driving, to your point.
Yeah, it's keep you in the lanes. It's parking assist, those kind of things, to use the car analogy. Bill had some good recommendations about.
Yeah, why don't we go through some of those? So if you are using AI to generate your code, these are using like a Copilot kind of assistant. These are some of the do's for that.
So, use it thoughtfully, don't blindly. Be intentional about how you're using it.
And it's not for every task and every code you're going to generate, right? Use it in the, pick your spots for that. And
I would augment that and say, it's still learning. We're still learning how to use it too. So just don't throw it at every problem. Do code reviews, security reviews, both with tools and with people. That's still super important. Maybe we need to start to tweak how we do some of those things with Gen AI created, automated, assisted development. I hadn't thought about this one. Avoid redundancy, right? If you're having it write code for you, you may already have a function that does that. That may be the same routine you could turn into a function now that 4 different times you've created the same code. So I imagine there's lots of opportunity.
Yeah, sure.
For that. And maybe double down or emphasize more measuring and monitoring the quality of what you're doing, because you're changing, right? You're bringing in a new technology that could have a big impact,
I don't
positive or negative.
Set it free and set it and forget it. I think you put it out there, and even though it may pass the sniff test initially, you got to watch what happens in the wild.
Yep, absolutely.
Life will find a way.
Yep, life will find a way. It does survive. Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. Next article we're going to talk about is this: how to get platform engineering just right. Big topic, right? That was DevOps dead. Platform engineering is the new thing. Agile's gone. No, those things are gone, right?
No.
It's all still part of our ecosystem. But look,
platform engineering is a real function. I heard we were at dinner last night, and someone said it I think it was Brad said it in a really succinct way. If we think of DevOps as culture and DevOps tools, right, as DevOps tools, platform engineering has become the DevOps teams, right? We used to have DevOps engineers, but everyone always said there's no such thing as a DevOps engineer.
Right.
But I think the platform engineer has become, and the platform engineering team has become the new DevOps engineer, if you will, doing that kind of task. So, it's not competitive or replacing. It's, again, part of this whole continuum with Agile and DevOps and SRE and platform engineering.
Agreed. And there's so many parts to, what does platform engineering mean, right? Is it developer productivity and portals for that? Is it standardizing environments for dev, test, and production? Is it optimization, things like that?
It's all of them, I think.
It's all of those. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's been successful is because it can adapt. You can adapt it to what your issues are, right? If you're really focused on, hey, I can't hire more developers, how do we get them more productive? Or point it to whatever you want. But it of itself isn't a panacea, just like none of these things are.
But, so as the report or as the article points out, the Google State of DevOps report says that on average, it takes 3 years for platform engineering to start showing tangible results. Look, that might be a bridge too far for a lot of companies.
That's a long time.
Yeah, who are, they're doing 6-month sprints here in terms of projects and so forth.
Those projects, if I was ever on a project that took 3 years to show value, I think it'd be canceled about a year into it.
Yeah, or 18 months, something like that.
Yeah.
But in reality, even the 3 years might be optimistic, best case scenario.
Yeah.
And so again, this isn't something you just wake up and say, hey, let's go do platform engineering. It's a long-term commitment on the part of your organization.
Yeah. Benjamin Brial's the author of this.
Yes.
And he has some recommendations, some guidance around setting up your tool buffet. He emphasizes the importance of observability in that role as well, how to plug into the CI/CD pipeline and focus on FinOps and GreenOps. And, there's probably some other things to do as well.
Yeah, we should mention Benjamin, I think, is with Cycloid, and he's also at platform.eng. So you check out the full, beyond the article on DevOps.com, which we'll have in our notes here, and maybe a QR code on you if you're watching this on video. You can go to Platform Eng and get more there.
Yep, absolutely. We kind of talked about the next topic already around the reorganization Dell just announced this week. Well, it's been kind of announced coming around doing some layoffs around 5% of their workforce, which I guess works out to be 6,600 jobs, or at least.
Yeah, I mean, and again, from what I was told, it was heavy in the marketing space. I think, Mitchell, the question is that just the first shoe dropping? Right? I read an article last night. I think I might have sent it to you.
Yeah.
Was it in the Register or something? Dell has always been, I did deals with Dell back in the late 90s, the dot-coms, Dell host. And even back then, at the upper echelons of Dell, almost everyone came from Bain, Bain Capital, right? Bain took, Michael Dell out of his college dorm in Austin and made them a world power, right? And ever since then, Michael Dell, I think there's still Bain people there running it with him. And they have this, Bain has this philosophy that you basically build an organization by saying each employee represents about $1 million in revenue. So to have 100, what was it?
133,000.
Right, 100, right. But to have 100,000 employees at $1 million in revenue, what is that? I forget what the terrible with
you're
math.
adding 5 zeros to the end of that, I think.
Right, is what you're adding. 5 zeros to the end of 100,000. So it becomes 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, 1,000 million. I think it comes to 10 billion.
Yeah, 10 billion. I think that's what the number was.
And so if you look at Dell's revenue now and where they're, planning, according to the Bain formula, they should be at about 100,000 employees, not 100. Well, they're down about 125 now.
Yep.
So we might be seeing as much as 20 to 25,000 more layoffs at Dell, which, I mean, that's a lot of people. It's worldwide, but that's a lot of people. But it's also in line. Look, I mean, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they all these big tech giants who, by the way, reported decent numbers on the street,
good,
right? And their stocks are doing well, but they're all taking this opportunity to skinny up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a cycle, Mitchell, right? It's that, it's like dieting. You get down to your weight and then you add the pounds back. And then you do it again and again and again, and it's probably not healthy. But
you're hiring while you're laying off people.
Yeah,
whatever.
So we'll keep our eye on that. But along with that, though, from what we know, there's a bit of a huge reorg going on there. Yeah. This fellow John Byrne has taken over global responsibility for all regional and Dell Technology Select sales. So they're retooling marketing, sales, internal teams. And, it always creates for a little uncertainty. We'll see how it comes out.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see where they go. I got to believe they're also going to adapt to where the market is now and change some focus internally on products or channel or whatever it might be. So it's more than just losing people, usually.
Yeah. Well, I think that some of the AI may take some of this functionality over going on.
That's true, too. Maybe some over-optimistic. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your interview that you did with Kit.
Yeah,
Merker.
so our good friend Kit
We just
Merker.
talked to him at reInvent.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. So, I originally met Kit. He was still at Google, I think, when Kubernetes was first, going public. And Kit then went over to JFrog, and he was VP Biz Dev at JFrog and had interacted a lot with Kit during those years. He left JFrog and helped start up Noble 9, which, SLO's SRE company. And he was, I forget his title, Chief Commercial Officer or Chief Revenue Officer, Marketing. I mean, Kit was responsible for marketing and sales there. And, he, over the last, 2 to 3 to 4 years, he's really helped make Noble 9 a leader in their space. But he's now taken a job as CEO, first-time CEO. So congratulations to Kit.
That's awesome.
With a company called Plainsight. I did an interview with him. It's on TechStrong TV. So Plainsight's been around a while. When we think about AI, we tend to think of chatbots.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other AI, types of AI. One of them is computer vision. Mm-hmm. So in other words, you feed in a camera feed to a computer and it uses AI to figure out what it's seeing and, act on that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting technology, especially when it starts get applying to IT and stuff. But the company's well financed, but it wasn't. What's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't well known in the market.
Oh, okay.
It was kind
Still
of
a best kept
secret. Yeah. And it's Kit's job now to make
he's
it
a great
known.
evangelist.
Yeah, and he's good.
Yeah.
He's a great front guy. And he has a real idea of what he wants to do there and how to do it and some interesting functionality that this technology can bring to it. So I would definitely check it out. It's called Plainsight Technologies. And, we wish Kit the best of luck with it, Mitch.
Absolutely. Well, another DevOps chat.
Another busy
in the
DevOps.
can.
Yeah, another week of busy DevOps. Should mention we're gearing up to head towards, about another month and a couple of weeks. We'll be in Paris for KubeCon.
Absolutely.
But until then, lots going on. Tune in next week. And look, tune in every day to DevOps.com for the latest and greatest DevOps-related news and information, as well as TechStrong TV, right? You could catch it on DevOps.com or on LinkedIn or on DevOps.tv as well.
Absolutely. Send us your feedback, too. Send it to Alan or Mitchell at TechStrongGroup.com. We'd love to hear from you, your ideas, your reactions, what's good, what you don't like, what you'd like to hear more of, all that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So until next time, this is Alan Schimmel.
And Mitchell Ashley.
Keep DevOpsing.
There you go. We'll see you soon.